You're listening to How I Met Your Monster, a podcast that explores the introductions to your favorite movie monsters. My name's Zach.
I'm Danny.
And I'm Casey.
And together we dive into the world of horror to find out how filmmakers have introduced us to our favorite monsters time and time again. This is How I Met Your Monster.
Boss, you opened it. We came.
I met him 15 years ago. I was told there was nothing left.
Explorers in the further regions of experience. Demons to some, angels to others.
Call you Meatloaf! Surprise, Sydney.
Hello and welcome to How I Met Your Monster, the show where we discuss the introductions to your favorite movie monsters. I'm Zach.
I'm Danny.
And I'm Casey.
And today we're making pornos.
Oh, yeah.
It's about time we made a porno. You know, they said in film school, they were like, if you go and make pornos, like, you can't come back from that. Do you remember them saying that, Danny?
That's so funny that you say that. I don't remember it, but it's triggering an old memory.
Yep. They're like, if you make it, like, nobody will work with you other than making porn. Like, that's what you got to do.
Oh, whatever.
A lot
when
of
you do
classy
making porn.
conversations in those classes.
But who started out? There's a director who's really good, and his first movie was like a porn.
Wasn't it Wes Craven?
Well, I mean, Sylvester Stallone was in a porn.
Was it Wes Craven or Sean
Wes Craven
Cunningham?
did.
Or?
Wes Craven did, I think, soft. Maybe they both did. I think there was some softcore pornography. Not like straight on, hardcore Pornhub porn, but
Yeah.
it was genteel porn.
Yeah, Stallone was in that. It's like kitties, something about kitties.
Like cats?
Yeah.
Like furries? Sylvester Stallone a furry? I mean, hey, this is like we say this all the time. We do not kink shame on this
don't
podcast.
kink shame.
I am
No.
simply asking.
Speaking of furries, I watched a good movie last week that I'm going to tell you guys about in just a few minutes. So
Okay.
get ready for that.
I was going to say, I just we were just talking about this earlier, that I just came back from Berlin, Germany. It was my first time in Europe, and I was talking to someone, and they were like, "What are you doing in Germany?" And I was like, "Oh," and they were like, "Are you here for the furry festival?"
No.
And I was like, "Yeah, pardon?"
Are you serious?
All the way from San Francisco.
And I was like, "No, I'm here for work, technically, my partner's work, but no, I am not here for the furry festival."
But then
I am
you bought
now
a ticket to that
very
convention.
intrigued. Yeah, I'm very
Oh my
intrigued
gosh.
now. I want to go to said furry festival.
I mean, furry culture isn't necessarily about all about sex like people say it is.
Okay,
Oh, it's not?
good. Yeah, can you describe it a little bit? Because I know the idea of what this whole furry thing is, but
I mean,
tell me a little bit about it.
it's just it's just like cosplay, except instead of making a costume of something that already exists, you're basically making a persona of an animal, and you can make it, it's whatever you want. It's like your alter ego as an animal.
Okay.
And it's,
Makes sense.
I mean, it's kind of similar to cosplay in the way that like sometimes people or like sometimes if you're really shy and quiet and then you put on this costume and you can be a completely different person. You know what I mean? So that's really what it's about. I mean, people
Makes
I'm sure
sense.
that they get laid. I'm sure that they do it a lot in their costumes, but that's not like what the whole culture isn't about, like sex, like people say it is.
Gotcha.
Well, that's a big thing with kinks in general, is just sort of like, you are who you are here, but when you're in this environment with people who share a similar, interest or kink, it's like you can be that person,
Yeah.
or you can have that interest with no shame. So that makes sense that would apply to something. I feel like it's easy to be like, oh, weird, but it's like, define weird, because the reason why people do these things is to be sort of like
Accepted.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Man.
Oh, this is going to be such a horny episode, and I'm so excited.
I hope y'all are ready for wrinkly balls and saggy old titties.
Well, there's a whole moment in this movie, right around the midpoint, where they directly reference the fact that we're in the midpoint, which I'm sure we'll get to later, where it's all about breaking down the social norms and sort of like accepting the, I don't know, like whatever is, quote unquote counterculture, be it sex or just like the way you live your life. So that's
Even
what we'll
if
be
it
doing
is,
here.
Killing people and
There's a little bit of a line across,
keeping them in
I
the
think.
basements.
There's such a, like, it's hard to say it's a sweet story, but it's like, there is like a sweet, like heartbreaking story
I mean,
to
yes
all this
and no.
until you find out that they like kill people. But
Yeah.
it's just like, I don't know. It's heartbreaking. That's all
Well,
I'm
yeah,
going to say.
I mean, ultimately it's a story just about growing up and aging.
Well, the inevitability
and
of
how like
being old.
yeah, because like
Yeah.
in this case, it's not even that who's to say, like, I don't know if it was about necessarily like physical attraction, but it seems like the reason why those two characters, the ones we're referring to, don't have sex is more like health related than anything else.
Right.
So there's just like, there's a lot that they're just basically tackling a lot of things that kind of can like get in the way basically of simple life pleasures.
Yeah.
But then they maybe go a little too far.
A little bit.
A little bit.
Well, we're going to get into how far they go in just a little bit. But first of all, what'd you guys watch?
Oh.
Danny hasn't watched anything because he's been in Berlin.
Germany?
I've been in Germany. I did see a show in Germany, but it wasn't horror.
Oh, what'd you see?
It was called Arise, and it was sort of like it was a play, but it was a musical, but it was like had acrobats and
cool.
fire and water. And there was sort of like, it was sort of a grab bag of spectacles in theater. I'm not really sure what happened. Half of it was in German, so I didn't totally follow. So during intermission, we were like, let's break this down. Let's interpret it. Even though I'm sure like the plot was probably so clear. We're like, let's interpret every scene.
Well, at least there was acrobatics and stuff, so it was still entertaining.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it wasn't horror, but there was actually mention of like hell and, the inevitability and sometimes like destructive nature of time. So I guess that could sort of tie into horror.
Okay.
But that's all I got.
Oh, and we did just recently get our first viewing of the new Pinhead. The new Hell Priest for Hellraiser.
Oh.
Yeah.
I did not.
Jamie Clayton.
Looks wonderful.
She looks awesome.
Oh, I'm so excited.
She's
I'll have
got
to
like,
look it up.
it's
I
almost
cannot
like, and it's just like, it's just like a headshot really. So you see her, she's got the pins, but then she also has like that little neck wound, like that other Cenobite had.
Like Deep Throat?
The female Cenobite, like Deep Throat. Yeah. She's got like an open little neck thing. So that was cool.
Oh, yeah.
But Casey, what did you watch?
So have you guys ever heard of Little Nemo? Or do you remember Little Nemo?
Oh,
the kids movie?
love Little Nemo. In Slumberland?
Yes.
I don't know. If I know
So
it.
you don't know what it is?
That's scary.
It is a children's horror movie, 100%.
Yeah.
Came out in 88, I think. Yes. And I think it was like originally a Japanese film. It was, they ended up dubbing
Repurposing
in
it.
English or whatever. But Netflix is making a live action movie that comes out in November. So I watched the trailer for it last week and got so excited by it that Little Nemo is on Prime. So I watched Little Nemo. It's so good. It's so
It
good.
holds up.
Oh my gosh, it is still.
Doesn't he have like a flying
so good.
squirrel named Icarus?
Yes, Icarus. Yes, his pal Icarus.
My God.
And then
And like Mickey Rooney does a voice.
yes, of Flip. So Flip is who
Flip.
Jason Momoa is going to play in the live action movie.
That makes sense.
Who's like an outlaw, like tries to get him into trouble. And
So I had heard about this Slumberland. I didn't realize it was literally that story.
yeah. And
that's
the
exciting.
trailer looks so good. It gave me chills when I watched it. I got so excited. So Little Nemo, it is definitely like children's horror. Like
Yeah, truly, really, genuinely scary.
it is. The end of it is like there's like the Nightmare
like the
King
nightmare.
and
Yes.
stuff. Yeah,
Oh,
so good. So I watched that.
love it.
I went and saw The Invitation.
Oh, how was it? Not to
So
be
this
confused
was-
with the Karen Kusama movie.
Correct.
Different movie.
But what is this one?
You don't know what this one is? Mm-mm. It's a new vampire movie
Oh,
with
tell.
what is her name? Natalie something. She's one of the most beautiful women on the planet.
I think it's just Natalie.
Just Natalie.
Just Natalie.
But this goes back to what you were saying, Zach, before we started recording. You were talking about like people just wanting to bash stuff all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So like Sam and I went and saw this movie and we both really liked it. There was obviously some stuff that I was like, oh, that could have been way better. You know what I mean? But the story was cool. It's a fucking vampire movie. It was like pretty to look at. All the people in it were really pretty. The acting was good. And Sam and I both really liked it. And then I got home and I started looking stuff up about it and like everybody fucking hated it.
Why?
And I was like, is this like a guilty pleasure movie for me? Because I had a good time.
Well, and that's the thing too, is I was, reading some like reviews about, well, just in my example that we were talking about before we started recording was Prey and how the people, I was reading like one thread on the internet with like people just bashing it. And somebody chimes in and they're like, hey, like, I appreciate your review. I'm going to stay away from that. I only watch movies that people say are good. Like, I won't waste my time on something if someone says it's a bad movie.
Yeah.
That is so crazy to me.
Yeah.
Because it's just like, if you are interested, like if you're interested in a movie and somebody you see, that's why I fucking hate Rotten Tomatoes. I hate Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah.
You're like interested in a movie and they're just like, oh yeah, that one guy said it was a bad movie. So I've changed my mind. I'm not excited for this anymore.
Yeah.
Like just go see it. If you like it, it's good.
Yeah.
If you like it, it's a good movie.
I liked The Invitation. I thought it was good. The climax could have been better, which is funny because we're talking about a movie with lots of climaxes.
Lots of climaxes.
So much climaxing.
They even clean up a climax.
But,
oh God, that was gross.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Also, since we're covering X, which is, Ty West, I also watched The House of the Devil.
Oh, yeah. So good.
Which I had seen before, and I knew that I had seen it, right? I was like, yeah, I've seen this movie, right? But I didn't remember any of the good parts. I was like, I remembered her going, you know what I mean? But I didn't remember what the end was or like the cool things that happen. I like the movie a lot, but also, you know who the landlady is in the beginning of that movie? Dee Wallace.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Dee Wallace.
Yeah, Dee fucking Wallace.
Our fave.
I don't remember that. I saw that when it came out, and that was what, like 2009?
2009.
Okay.
Yeah.
All I remember from that was Tom Noonan, who plays Frankenstein's monster in the Monster Squad.
Oh, I did not even realize
He's a horror
that.
treasure.
Yeah. And he was, he's like I don't know if his name's the Ripper or something in Last Action Hero.
That's right. Talk about, I mean, I don't know. I guess maybe I just saw it as a kid, but that always, I think of that movie as a kid's movie.
Yeah.
That is a terrifying villain.
Yeah.
It's movies like that, and then in the villain in Rocketeer, they would have villains who were just like a little off. There's just something off about the way they look, and it just it doesn't sit really well. So
like the guy from Little Monsters.
Scary. Yes.
Howie Mandel?
No, Howie Mandel's not the
Daniel
monster
Stern.
in that movie.
Daniel Stern is in that?
He's the dad.
I don't remember that.
No, I can't remember the monster's name at the moment, but
Boy?
yeah. Boy, yeah, it's just Boy. Yeah.
Frank
but he's
Whaley?
wearing like that, he has like that mask thing on over
And like he's that little suit.
Yep.
Yeah, Frank Whaley when he was like young.
Oh, so good though.
God.
Such a good movie. It's so weird and but yeah, so I watched House of the Devil. Love it. Slow burn. Such a good ending. Love the ending.
It's funny you say that about it being a slow burn. Ty West, if nothing else, and I mean this, I love Ty West, but I'm just saying if you had to sort of like, trim it down to like one positive thing to say about Ty West as a filmmaker, it's that he is so good at building atmosphere and really just like escalating a slow burn, like at such a steady pace and with such precision. Yeah, I think that is sort of like his defining, I don't know, I guess attribute as a filmmaker, especially in horror.
The House of the Devil, he wrote, directed, and edited that movie.
Jesus.
Yeah.
The same with this one.
He edited this movie?
There was another editor, but he's credited as an editor as well. Writer, producer, director, and then half editor.
Wow. What a fucking dude. Yeah, and House of the Devil was also filmed in 16 millimeter, right?
So fun.
So it's like, and it takes place in the 80s, and it looks like, if you wouldn't know it and you just watched it,
oh my gosh,
is such an 80s, like, horror, you know what I mean? Like, you would just think,
and
that
like
it was
just like this one, 70s.
Yeah.
He just there's something about him, and his director of photography that was on House of the Devil and this one is Elliot Rocket, and they just fucking nail it.
Yeah.
There's something that they hit all the right notes on the aesthetic.
Every
with
detail.
like the long zooms and the wide shots and the long takes and this. Oh my God.
The transitions
it's
between
one thing
scenes.
to like emulate that era or any era, but they do it in a way that you feel like you're actually watching something that was made during that time. It's not just a
amazing.
love letter.
Right. Yeah. Like Casey said about House of the Devil, like if you didn't tell it, like if you gave that to someone and you're like, check out this 80s movie I just found, and they'd be like, oh shit, this is awesome.
Never
Like, guess what? It was made in 2006 or
Yes.
2000.
What? Zach, what did you watch about furries?
I watched, okay. So first I watched like the second half of The Uninvited. I just like turned on Shudder, and you know how Shudder has Shudder TV. So it just like plays movies
Which I
all the
love
time.
that they do that.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And so I turned it on, and it was The Uninvited, and it was like halfway done. So I just finished it. It was about like, it's like this cat gets onto this boat, and I don't know. I came in like the middle, and one guy had already been like bitten and things were going bad. But like somehow this cat has like mutant genes in it, and the boat broke down, and they can't get the boat to fix, and they're like stuck out in the middle of the ocean. And there's this cat that is just like bad juju, right? And it is so crazy because when the cat attacks, like this other little like gremlin cat comes out of its mouth, and like and then it like crawls.
Xenomorph, like the mother.
Well, it like comes
extra
all the way out, and it's like its own thing, and then it crawls back into the mouth of the cat. Wow. Sounds awesome, right?
Yeah.
But it wasn't.
When they do the visual, the cat that it comes, it's like this little like orange, I guess it's like a tabby, I guess, like stripy orange cat. Aww. And you see it, and it's like, oh, meow, here I am.
I love orange cats.
Cute.
They're always so friendly.
And then like they cut to the thing coming out of its mouth, and now the little cat that we just saw is this huge like stuffed cat that you would find at like a carnival. Like if you like won ring toss or something, they'd give you like a big cat. And it is so clearly a stuffed animal, and it is just like very prevalent on the screen. They don't even like try to hide it. It's just like,
they're not like quick. Let's just show this real quick.
It's just like a stuffed animal with like this other cat thing coming out of it. Oh my gosh. And then just some of the dialogue is crazy. And
didn't they do a similar thing in, what was it? Like Tales from the Dark Side or something, where like the cat goes into the guy's mouth.
Yeah. Tales from the Dark Side, the movie.
Yes.
The cat goes down the guy's throat, and like it, they like cut it, like you see just like the tail coming out, and it's like his throat's all big. But the movie that I would say that reminded me when you were talking about furries, the movie I watched, it's not really horror, but it was very unsettling. It's called Wolf.
With Jack Nicholson?
No, it has Lily Rose Depp and George McKay.
Okay.
Who I don't know why. I just thought he was fucking Ron Weasley from Harry Potter. They're both like,
that would be Rupert Grint.
Yeah, I thought it was Rupert Grint for a while, but it's not. But he thinks he's a wolf, and like he gets put into this hospital with other people who think they're animals. And
been there.
It is very clearly, as you watch the movie, as it unfolds, they're like, this is who they think they are, like at their core. They're like, I'm a squirrel, I'm a wolf, I'm a German Shepherd. And then the hospital that they're at is like on the surface, they say like, oh, we're here to help them. We're going to get them back to quote unquote normal, and we're going to help them. But like when the parents of these people leave, they're like very, like their methods are very
Cruel,
harsh and cruel. And it's very much like a kind of a take on like gender identity and like conversion camps, you know, where they're like, oh, you're gay, go to this camp and we'll turn you straight. You know what I mean? And so it's really good, but it is very, like I said, unsettling, because it's just like these long scenes of like these people and they're like trying to be animals. And then like the dude is like, there's like this one doctor who's like really mean. But the acting is so good.
And this just came out recently?
It came out in 2021. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Lily Rose Depp, her character, thinks she's a cat, and like he thinks he's a wolf, and they have like this attraction. And so like there's like these scenes where they're just like, there's like crazy sexual tension, but they're being like they're animals.
Yeah.
Wow. And it's so, I don't know. You just have to see it.
You know what cats sound like when they have sex?
No.
They scream. Yeah.
Was she doing that?
No, they didn't actually do that.
Okay.
But
She was like, meow.
Meow.
but I would highly recommend Wolf. I think it's on HBO Max.
Yeah, that sounds cool.
Yeah. Do you guys want to talk about porn?
Yeah, let's do
always
it.
want to talk about
Not
porn.
just, not an average porno. This one's got like a great story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, people should watch it for the story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can have.
That's why we usually watch porn.
Yeah, of course. No, it's not though. That's why they made this. That's why they made this porn.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
Because they wanted
not for the boobies.
Yeah, not for the boobies.
Not for the boobies.
No.
Yeah. You can make you know what this is? This movie is sort of like Texas Chainsaw Massacre meets Boogie Nights. You know,
absolutely.
Like trying to make a porno that is quote unquote classy, and yet
Dude,
you
Boogie
have
Nights.
this 70s sort of, you know.
Dude, that's such a perfect way to put it.
Yeah.
Because even like at the beginning, like when she's in the dressing room and she like looks into the mirror and she says like,
totally.
I'm a fucking star.
You're a fucking, well, I thought she was going to stand up and like whip out a 13-inch penis, but she didn't.
No, not like Dirk Diggler.
Dirk Diggler.
Dirk Diggler.
Man, so good.
Yeah. Okay. Now we know, audience, listeners, that is the movie that we were going into.
Yes.
That's one thing that I really loved about this movie was sort of how they were so sort of just very on the nose about the filmmaking references. Like we're making a movie. Maybe my favorite part of this movie was the opening shot, because I thought it was a really kind of clever way to sort of modernize kind of the aspect ratio, because you start off thinking you're watching sort of like that 4:3 ratio, but really it's only because you're literally they're shooting from behind actual like doors, and then all it does is slowly push forward, and it creates that effect that you see in movies where like they kind of stretch the screen,
Yeah.
you know, to get that wider ratio, but it's done in it's not the lens, it's just the shot. And I just thought that was so genius. And I was right away, I was like, oh, I feel like I'm going to love this movie.
Did you love it? Because you hadn't seen it yet.
I did. I had a lot of fun with this movie. I truly didn't know what to expect. And I just now saw it literally right before we jumped into our little listeners. We have a very fancy sound booth that we meet at. It's in an undisclosed location. We meet up. We have a private jet that flies us there every 2 weeks. But right before we entered here, I watched it, and yeah, I am mad at myself for waiting, but I am very happy to have seen it.
Yeah.
I saw it in theaters, but I honestly, before going to see it, I didn't know anything about it. I never watched the trailer.
Oh,
So-
really? Yeah. Same here.
Yeah.
Same here.
Okay.
So when it started, and then like when they get to the farmhouse and stuff like that, because the very beginning is the farmhouse. I was like, does this take place in the Texas Chainsaw universe? Like legitimately thought that. I was like, did
It's
I
a
just not know
legitimate
that this
thought.
is-
Yeah.
Yeah, that this is some sort of something to do with Texas Chainsaw. But it's not. But obviously very heavily inspired by Texas Chainsaw.
Yeah.
But
I want to hear like the director Ty West is going to come in and be like, oh yeah, in my head in the script, like I viewed it as like they were just neighbors.
oh yeah, hey,
this whole
man.
strip of land is just filled
They
with
could be.
deviants.
They're all just helping each other out.
Yeah. We're really horny. We're really hungry. How can we sort of like work together and benefit from each other?
They go from Pearl's house then to the Sawyer's house.
Right. After
they
she
fuck a whole bunch
fucks
and then they
around
get
a little
hungry
bit.
and then they go to the
You're like,
Sawyer's.
oh, I'm hungry.
Yeah.
Then you're
Yeah.
hungry. You're like, oh, now I'm a little horny. It's like we're just living in freaking heaven right now.
Yeah.
This is kink heaven on this little highway.
Well, are you guys ready to meet the monster?
Let's meet him. Let's meet them. Let's meet her. Them.
Oh, she wears the fucking pants, dude.
Yeah.
100%.
She calls the shots.
What's going to make us horniest based on what happens in this movie?
Yeah, we'll get there.
I'm there.
So the first time we're introduced to Pearl, she's creeping on Maxine
Out the window.
in the woods.
Oh.
In the woods.
Oh, when she's at the lake?
Yeah.
But we
Great
don't
scene.
see her in the window up front at first.
Oh, when she's looking at
Do we?
Lorraine. Yeah, it's a quick...
No.
You see her...
No, they pull up to the house. Guys, listen, just fucking listen to me.
Damn.
So they pull up and they're getting all their stuff out of the van to go to the thing. And Maxine goes back to the dash to get her magazine. And she's standing there with the open door and she looks up at the house and Pearl is looking out the window and they just stare at each other for a while.
Okay.
And
Missed that
then the next time that we see her, she's creeping on her in the woods.
I thought it was Lorraine who was looking up at her, Jenna Ortega's character.
No.
Oh.
All right. So they see each other through the window, which I honestly don't remember because I must have been not paying attention.
So that's the first time we meet the quote unquote monster of the movie.
The first time we see her, yeah.
I mean, I guess to be fair, we don't really see her face. It's a silhouette.
It's suggested.
It's over the shoulder and you just see the whatever. But
Well, and then when she's creeping on her, when she's at the pond, I love
It's more of an essence.
I just love how she looks in the background. Just this blurry, like wild haired
Yeah.
Albert Einstein looking motherfucker, like just creeping out back there.
Oh, okay. So I noticed that Mia Goth, who plays Maxine in this movie, will be playing the titular Pearl in the prequel.
She plays Pearl in this movie too, Danny.
That's what confused me because
Why?
I'm okay. This is the downfall of watching it too late. I should have seen it in theaters because at this point I know that the movie Pearl exists and I know that Mia Goth must play Pearl. So I'm watching this movie thinking, oh, there's going to be a twist where like Mia Goth's character is going to be someone who is not who I think.
okay.
And is it just a case of her playing a younger version of Pearl?
Yeah, I mean, there's the whole thing where Pearl sees herself in
Yeah.
Maxine,
Okay.
and all that kind of stuff. So I'm pretty sure that that's just where they went with it was,
Okay. So is it almost like a, maybe not thematic, maybe that's not the word I'm looking for, but like you said, you kind of just said it perfectly. Like she literally saw herself in her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So do you think that's what they're going for is like, it's more like
Danny,
the
I'm
theme
so
of this.
confused by your confusion.
I mean, because she can't literally be the same person.
No, she's not the same person.
No, it's not
That's
like
what I'm saying.
Two totally different people.
Okay. I think that's the thing is I went in with so much, like this preconception of like, oh, they must be something if.
No.
But,
yeah, no, it was just she reminded her of herself.
Mm-hmm.
She saw herself, quote unquote, saw herself
Yeah.
Like literally.
Maxine.
Okay.
And so,
okay.
yes,
That makes sense.
But Mia Goth plays Pearl in makeup,
Yes.
and she also plays a young Pearl
Yes.
without makeup in the new movie Pearl.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Okay. So it's just a fun way to show like what Pearl's character was sort of basically what kind of prompts her to be a killer in this movie is because she sees herself as this other person.
We'll find out why she's a killer. Well, she's a killer because at
She horny.
this point in her old age, she's a killer because her husband won't fucking give it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also,
Well, yeah. So
Okay.
it's just jealousy. It's jealousy.
I mean, part of it is jealousy, but there's a bigger part to this. I don't know if you guys caught on to it, but we'll talk about it when we get there.
Well, is it about like the kidnapped guy?
I mean, yes.
Because like I think they were like kidnapping these people.
Yeah.
To like she was like having sex with them
Yes, correct.
to like
That's not
get her
all, though.
rocks off.
That's not all. We'll talk about it later.
Okay.
But before we do that, since we were talking about the makeup, yes, we must talk about just how amazing the makeup is. I mean, So first of all, I did not know that Mia Goth played Pearl until afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
I knew that it was somebody younger in old age makeup just because,
That's just
you
where
can
my head was. I didn't realize it was Mia Goth.
Yeah. So that kind of did throw me off a little bit, but it didn't like take me out of it. It was just like you can tell that someone's kind of imitating an old person voice and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But all of the makeup and all of the effects in this movie are so good.
Mm-hmm.
All of it was amazing.
Yep. Flawless.
Yeah, it really was. And I don't know all of the people that worked on it, but Jason Doherty, who works for Weta.
Peter Jackson's.
Yes.
Well, I think it was. I think he sold it. But
You were telling us about that company in a previous episode.
Yeah.
Aw.
So
Coming back.
no, I don't think that Weta itself maybe worked on the film, but I know that he was like the prosthetics designer and makeup designer and stuff for this.
Gotcha.
So yeah, all the Lord of the Rings movies, Hobbit movies, actually is going to be doing Evil Dead Rise as well.
Oh, that's so
awesome.
fun.
And also is doing Rings of Power.
Oh my God. And Evil Dead Rise is now officially getting, it was supposed to be going to HBO Max. We were just going to see it on the television. It's now getting a theatrical release.
Theaters.
Yeah.
Oh, amazing.
It would have been out, I think,
That's
like
so
next
exciting.
month, but now it's pushed to 2023.
Oh, that's awesome though. So yeah, everything about this movie, everything about the makeup was
That is awesome. That's so exciting.
so good.
Do you know if that guy worked with, because that was like Weta and Peter Jackson is like a thing? Did he have anything to do with Peter Jackson's like earlier horror movies? Do you know?
I don't think so.
Well, this whole thing was filmed in New Zealand,
Oh, that's
was it?
interesting.
so that makes sense that they would
Yes,
work on
it sure
it.
does.
Okay. I wonder what prompts that. Is it like we want to work with
Money.
these effects people? Money. Yeah.
Yeah, the gore effects in this are just fucking
Yeah.
so good.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like that, we'll get to it, but like when the scene turns red,
Yes.
it's kind of like the whole Quentin Tarantino thing with the crazy 88s and Kill Bill.
Yes,
Where
Kill
it's
Bill.
like he couldn't get away with that much blood if he kept it in color. So he switched the fight to black and white.
Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fun.
And then so
Oh, I
like
did
this,
not
it's
know
like
that.
all that neck stuff is just like
Oh, she decapitated him.
So gross. And like if that
Yeah.
was just in full on color with just like blood spraying without the red lighting, that he probably wouldn't have got away with all that.
Oh, that's so
disgusting.
great. And it's
Yeah.
funny, you need to be a seasoned horror filmmaker to kind of anticipate that reaction from the MPAA, to know like, well, I'm going to use that reaction as sort of like a creative influence for this scene. Which is like kind of ironic that, like something that's sort of suppressing kind of like the violence that is quote unquote acceptable is something that's going to kind of motivate a really amazing scene. So
Yes.
Yeah.
kudos to Ty West for doing
man.
that.
Well, speaking of the MPAA, I went on our trusted trivia source, IMDb,
Okay.
and I found a really cool little tidbit about the X rating itself.
Okay.
So the X rating was never like intended to be like for like porn or whatever. the X rating was there so that filmmakers, if they chose to, could put their movie in theaters without having to go through the MPAA.
Oh, interesting.
But then porn movies in the 70s started like exploiting that X rating and kind of like basically gave it a bad rap. So then the MPAA decided to do away with the X rating, and that's where they brought in NC-17, which now requires you to go through the MPAA. Like you can't, it's not like X where you can just be
journey.
like, I'm giving it a
Bullshit.
NC-17 and putting it out. Like you have to go through the thing. So I thought that was pretty interesting.
It is cool.
That's fascinating. And now I genuinely want to like dive into that because I had no idea. Oh, X. Oh, Ty West.
Dude, we need to talk about this whole pond scene.
Really
Yes.
wonderful scene.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Wonderful scene.
Maybe one of the scariest scenes in the movie.
Number one, talking about like the aesthetic of the 70s movies, when you're real tight on Maxine and she's walking on the dock, and then the camera really slowly zooms out and you're all the way across the pond. I fucking love
wild.
it.
It's so
Oh my
good.
gosh. And then the opposite when we see the gator for the first time.
Yep.
And it zooms in to like the tall grass, and then we're real tight on his face. But what might be even, I don't even know, I can't say it's better or not because they're both, it's all just fucking brilliant. The overhead shot with the alligator just coming into frame. Holy shit. I remember seeing this in the theater and just like my jaw dropped.
Gasp.
Just, yep. Gasp. It's a very gaspy moment.
Well, it's funny, like a good horror movie and like a good porno, there is great setup / foreplay, and there is great payoff / climax. You know, like there are so many moments of, because this movie, which really surprised me because I just thought this was going to be like a bloodbath kind of movie, which was like, sure, like that's what it is. But it is all suspense. That first half of the movie is just setup, and it's done. I mean, this is truly one of the scariest movies of the year with just the way that they sort of set everything up. And it's, you know, like with the alligator, with Pearl, like there's a scene where I think it's Maxine when she goes, when she goes into the house for the first time, and you could almost anticipate a jump scare, but it's not. It's just Pearl's just there in the background after like it cuts to a different shot. And they do that throughout the movie with these setups, you know, like, and I'm really only going with the alligator, but you know, the alligator, it's like the Chekhov's gun, like, you know, it's going to kill someone.
Yeah.
And they do that throughout the movie. Like, you know, this is going to pay off eventually. And it does. And it's done really well.
How do you guys feel about the term elevated horror?
I don't care. Whatever.
Yeah.
You don't care about it. Some people really don't like it.
I don't have an opinion about
I
it.
get what they're saying. I get it. I don't know
why people dislike it.
I get both. I get why people don't like it, but I also understand what people mean by it. So in a weird way, it's in a weird way, it's sort of kind of it's helpful in saying like this kind of movie, elevated horror, boom, I could tell you like 5 movies and I bet you will be on the same page.
So I would consider this elevated horror, but just in production in this movie and writing and stuff, it's just so great.
Well, yeah, I think this has a deeper meaning.
That's the thing.
Well, I guess, but it's not like I maybe because it's kind of obvious. You know what I mean? It's not like
it's funny you say that.
You have to dig deep for it.
Well, that's the thing is this is one of those movies where it is that it's sort of like it's telling you what the movie is, and it is that like they literally say it. They're like, we want to make like a sort of prestige porno, and elevated horror is kind of maybe not by definition necessarily is sort of prestige horror.
Yeah.
And then he says like, oh yeah, your movie can shift like halfway through. And
like
you know,
Psycho.
like he's everything they're saying in the movie is sort of like becomes exactly what they're telling you. I remember there was a certain point in the movie where I was like, oh, I'm going to want to rewatch this movie like fairly soon because I feel like the movie's even more clever than it lets on because there's so many times where they're sort of directly referencing like what it is to make a movie, you know, like, oh, that, you know, it's all about, I even wrote it down somewhere, like he talks about like experimenting with editing to disguise the budget, and just like little things, even like the religious references, there's this moment where he says it's better to ask forgiveness than ask permission.
Mm-hmm.
Begging forgiveness is like all about like faith and religion and sort of like these fundamental rules that come with religion. And I'm like, oh wait, I think there's something here. I think there is like a layer or maybe multiple layers under the surface that Ty West is trying to say within this movie, even though it also is in the same way that they are making a porno, it is a horror movie. It is exploitation, quote unquote, in a sense. But I think it is sort of elevated horror, prestige. It is porn. It is horror. It is, it's all of that. And I'm really excited to go back to sort of like kind of dissect it a little bit to sort of see, are you kind of setting up even these granular elements of like what it is to make a movie and how we kind of cleverly injected that throughout to sort of, maybe even as like an inside baseball or an inside joke for filmmakers or film enthusiasts.
What's an inside baseball?
Yeah, I never heard that one.
Never heard that?
What's that?
No, it must be from Connecticut.
Oh, like inside baseball. Like we have like,
baseball.
it's the under.
We're throwing the ball back and forth.
Yeah,
we know.
it's not on the surface. It's I don't know.
Because there's a cork in a baseball. Did you know that?
No.
Oh.
You didn't know that?
No.
The very
Dang.
center of a baseball is a cork.
The only cork I need is on my wine bottle, and I want the cork on the wine bottle off the wine bottle so I can drink it. So I know nothing about corks.
Well, a little bit more like on the surface of what you were talking about, like how they kind of set things up, where he talks about like the editing and then like the editing. And this is so good. This is more on the surface, but like there's times when they'll sort of like break the fourth wall, but like not really. Mm-hmm. You get like, you're so far into the movie and it's just like this buildup about, they're talking about fucking the whole time. They're like,
yeah.
sex. And then
Sex.
they get to the cabin and he's like, all right, time to give the people what they want.
Yeah.
Whatever. And then like, bam,
Exactly.
it cuts.
And that's what we
to,
want.
like,
We want the sex.
And so it's kind of like they're talking to us, but
Right.
not really.
Right.
100%. Exactly. And they do things like that throughout. And I thought I had written down another quote, but I guess I did not.
You didn't write down, feel how hard my dick is.
Oh my God, that was so funny.
That is funny.
I was actually a little disappointed. I thought that was setting up sort of like, I thought we were going to get some like gay sex, and they were
The gay sex scene.
because they kept talking about, they were like, oh yeah, we have sex with them and that. And they even mentioned same sex, gay sex.
Right.
So I was a little disappointed.
Sorry.
But that's okay.
Maybe in Pearl. I mean, we do, we get Pearl and Maxine
That's true.
a little bit.
Non-consensual, but it is technically by definition
It is
what we
gay
are
sex,
referring
yeah.
to.
Jackson was the only actor, the only character in that movie. Like he just like fucked girls all over the
That's
farm.
so
And that
funny.
was like,
Yeah.
that was the movie. Like,
Well,
what?
he's trying to get somewhere, and they don't want Daddy to see.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
I wonder if they ever cast Daddy. He must come in like the climax. Oh my God, come in the climax. The climax part was on purpose.
I like that
Anyways.
too. They were talking about like when after Lorraine said that she wanted to do a scene, and they're like, it doesn't have to have a plot and stuff like that. And then so for her scene, like they didn't give us any sort of,
That's
like
so
Yeah.
interesting.
the
It's
other
just,
two
like,
were the farmer's daughter, and
Totally.
they explained what they were doing there. But then she's like, well, it doesn't have, they don't have to do that. And then they didn't.
Oh, that's such a good catch.
Well, there is like the writing is so good when you get to that scene with her saying like, hey, I want to do a scene in the movie. Cause then you get RJ's like internal conflict.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's so complicated. Because like on one hand, he's like, hey, we're just doing this. Like we're all free. But then when it comes to him and his girlfriend, it's like, no, you can't do that because
Right.
yeah, but like, why is it okay for you to say it the other way?
Yeah.
So like that scene with him after he has to not only watch the whole thing, he has to film the whole thing.
Yeah.
Crazy. then he's in the shower and he's crying. And like, on one hand, you're like, I feel so bad for you. Like, I feel you, man. Like, that sucks. And on the other hand, you're like, well, I mean, you were okay with other people doing it. So like, fuck you. It's what you get. And I love a scene like that. That's like, that makes the best scene when both sides are like right. And they're just like fighting against each other.
Well, that's what I love about this movie is the more I think about it, it really just brings up just interesting conversations. You know, people
just
obviously,
like any good porno.
Yeah, exactly.
How do you fix this copier? The repairman will know. Sorry.
No, it confronts like stigmas. Like, you know, one big thing, you know, like is the idea of ageism. Is like, why shouldn't two people who are, you know, in their age, I'm not exactly sure how old Pearl and her husband are in this movie, but people of their age, like, why shouldn't they have a sex scene in a movie? You know, they're human beings. Like, at what point, what's the cutoff? Is it subjective? Is it aesthetic? Like, is it personal? Is it kink based? Like, these things are okay, but you have to open up the conversation to say, yeah, like, you can't be hypocritical. You can't be anti something, because you have to understand that everyone is sort of allowed to sort of indulge in like whatever they want, you know? So like, if you're going to be with someone and that is what they want, then you all of a sudden cross these lines or are confronted with these lines of like, who are you to say what your partner can or cannot do as long as it's consensual? It's just,
Howard just didn't want to have a heart attack.
Exactly. Yeah. And in that case, sure. Totally.
So let's kidnap people and put them in the basement.
Yeah, exactly. The answer is murder.
Yeah.
But it's a very complicated topic because you're dealing with raw, basic human emotions. You're dealing with sort of these social standards that have been put in place for however many years, which actually aren't as, you know, you think like, okay, man and woman married, that is how it is. That is like the standard. That's a very sort of new standard, though, given like the grand scheme of things, you know, in terms of like sex and relationships, like that has been, people have been basically more fluid, so to speak, to take like a kind of like modern word, longer than they have been sort of, I guess like traditional. Yeah. Like kind of like restraining themselves into this sort of monogamous relationship, which is not to say that like a non-monogamous relationship is the way to go. I just think that was the kind of the beauty of this movie, was to take a horror movie and then say, we're going to have a very complicated conversation about what a lot of people consider to be a very complicated topic. And I just thought they handled it really well.
I'm just going to throw something personal in here real quick.
Please.
But you're talking about like traditional people getting married, blah, blah, blah. Something that I've experienced that drives me up a fucking wall is people do not take adult relationships seriously unless you're married.
That's really interesting.
I can't stand that.
That's really interesting.
That. I don't ever want to be married, but Matt and I have been together for 4 years, but because we're not married, people are like, oh, like we're talking about buying a house. And my mom was like, oh, well, why would you do that if you're blah, 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 if you're not married? What? Like, why does a piece of paper mean anything about building a life together? It's just fucking ridiculous.
It just goes to show that people are so, and it's not even like their fault. It's not anyone's fault, you know?
No, I know. It's just
if you're sort of in a
how you're conditioned
system,
to think about it.
100%.
Yeah.
And I think and not to be so like high and mighty or anything, but it does sort of take these conversations to, at the very least, you know, because a lot of people avoid those conversations. They don't want to talk about it, you know?
Yeah.
It's the same thing with, you know, as like a gay man, you know, you always hear, oh, people tend to be more accepting of gay people if they know someone who is gay or if they're related to them, because they're forced into the conversation in one way or another.
Yeah.
You know, you kind of have to force these uncomfortable conversations, whether you agree with them or not. And at the end of the day, you don't have to agree with it, but you should have the conversation. And I think that's sort of like the beauty of a movie like this is kind of like opening that conversation. Have it. You don't have to agree, but, you know, at least accept it.
Right.
You know,
Right.
we're all different. And I love that they contrast it with, again, I'm not trying to like, people have their beliefs, but like they sort of contrast it with the televangelist. Thank you. As someone who is very like strict, it's like, this is what it is. There is no wiggle room. We have an opinion. You must stick to it or be punished. And then to have the other conversation is a great.
It is hilarious that they're playing that on their TV as they're murdering all of these people.
Totally.
Because she's so fucking horny, she doesn't know what to do.
Exactly. You're so restrained. You're so confined that you ultimately have to give in to these like very
you just lash out.
Yeah, exactly. And it ends up being worse than the thing that you were, restraining in the first place.
Yeah.
Oh, it's very weird.
Exactly.
Guys, come on.
Eventually, she also makes her way into the house, so that's when she actually meets Pearl.
That's true.
And she just chugs her lemonade so she can get the fuck out of there.
Oh my God, yeah.
But obviously, like, that was just really cool, the parallels with that and what they were shooting in the porn.
The lemonade, the whole...
Yeah.
Man, the editing in this movie, like we've talked about it already, but like that scene where they're paralleling, like you said, the two things, and then like oh my God, like, okay. So first of all, there's so many good moments. First of all, like the cows, when they like, he does like those choppy cuts where it'll be like cut to the cows and then back to the scene you're in, and then back to the cows, then back to the scene you're in. And then you go back to the cow scene and you stay there. And he does that a few times.
Oh, yeah.
And one of the best ones is when Wayne gets his fucking eyes gouged out by the pitchfork.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It goes in and it sticks, and then it cuts to a different scene. And then you're there for like, I don't know, 2 minutes, maybe 3 minutes. And then it quick cuts back to the pitchfork coming out with his eyeballs, and he just falls down. And it's just, holy shit. It was just perfection.
You almost like forget. It's like delayed gratification of like the release.
Yes.
You're like, oh, there it is. Yeah.
Again, going back to fucking sex and porn.
It's that was basically just like 2 minutes of edging, and then you get they pull out the eyeballs.
And, it was also could have very well have been a glory hole as well.
Oh my God. I didn't even think of that. Oh my God. Yeah, you're like confronting the unexpected in this case. Oh God.
What kind of dick is going to be in here? Oh shit.
You know what's so funny is like, this is one of those movies where even as I was watching it, I was like, okay, there's no way this movie is about like punishing the sexual sinner, like that, like old school.
Right.
But it's like, how can you not think that? Because it's about people who are filming a porno and then getting killed. But then, spoiler alert, the person who lives at the end is like,
yeah. And he says like multiple times stuff about like, oh, you nasty people here, what you're doing here, the last bohemian that stayed here, all he wanted to do, blah, 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 all that kind of shit. So.
But yeah, and then Maxine ends up living, and she's like literally doing coke on the way off. Not to say that like, it's like, there's no rules. It's like, you're not going to be punished. You're not going into hell if you believe in hell because you did coke and enjoyed having sex. Like, that's not the merits.
Well, the whole time, like, I was thinking that Lorraine was going to be the quote unquote final girl.
Oh,
final girl.
Like, they kind of set that up because she's like the quiet one, and she's like, okay, one. Sweetness. And then she makes it to like almost the end.
Dude.
And,
oh, it's so frustrating.
First of all, I love when she gets her fucking hand bashed in. Oh my God.
Is that when did I miss that? Was that when she's in the cellar?
Yeah, she cuts the hole in the door and she reaches around to unlock the door, and Howard comes and just bashes her hand.
And, there was a little here's Johnny moment because she like,
oh yeah,
got the axe and
Wait, do I love this movie? Like, I kind of want to go back and like rewatch it. Like, I liked it. I enjoyed it. But like, the more I'm thinking and talking about it, I'm like, wait a minute. I just want to keep going back and like picking up on these things.
It's great. We find out that Pearl used to be a dancer. Yeah, she wanted to be a dancer. We'll find out more about her backstory in Pearl. And in that part, we see another part of her, which is where she tries to like reach into Maxine's overalls.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, it'll be our little secret, she says.
Yeah.
Who is Pearl? It's funny. Usually people are like, we don't need a prequel. We don't need, but like, oh no, I want a prequel. I want to like know it all.
Maxine leaves, but then it's her turn. It's her scene in the movie, and Pearl goes and gets herself dolled up. And she puts on the same eyeshadow that Maxine is wearing.
Literally, there's like dolls around her, like porcelain dolls.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
When we were in the theater seeing it, Stacy turned to me and said, "This is like your bedroom." Because there's like all those weird doll heads and shit.
But that's when Pearl goes out and sees Maxine doing her scene in the barn.
Oh
yes.
And she like sees herself, like it like switches.
Yes. Yep.
That freaked me out.
That was great.
She literally sees herself.
Mm-hmm.
That took me a second earlier to wrap my head around. She sees herself.
One thing I don't like about this movie, is those fucking overalls.
Oh, that's so funny.
You don't like those?
I love overalls.
Yeah, you don't have boobs.
Well,
do you know how uncomfortable?
That's true.
No,
I don't.
It would be
they're getting kind of...
Got A cups.
Got little A cups.
So
I'm farming some boobs.
I gotta go to the gym.
Thinking about my nipples rubbing against denim.
Ouch.
Ow.
Yeah.
Not good, first of all.
Yep.
Second of all, when she's in the barn and she walks away, she's like walking with that pail, trying to be all sexy and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
It looks like she's wearing a diaper with a fucking dookie in it.
She got a dookie diaper?
Yeah, she got a dookie diaper in those overalls. And then later, when she's under the bed and she's wearing the overalls, but her boobs are like out of them, and she's just rubbing her tits across the floor, trying to get out from under the bed.
Ouch.
Just wear a shirt.
Yeah.
Ladies, if you're wearing overalls, wear a shirt underneath.
That's a cosplay right there, though. Dookie diaper, Mia Goth, Maxine from X.
So easy.
Well, it's like one of those, I could see it being like an iconic outfit. Like
just need to make sure you tape your nips beforehand.
I agree. Just, put something on them.
But there is like when, what's her name? Lorraine sees the guy tied up in the cellar for the first time, and you get the camera pushes in on her and she gives that scream.
That scream.
Iconic.
That is going to be iconic. Like that scream right there is going to be like. Oh, it
gives me chills thinking about it.
Holy shit. That one's going to stand the test of time.
Well, not only is it great, it just happens to be Jenna Ortega, who's in Scream in the same year and is going to be in Tim Burton's Wednesday. She is now in 1 year a horror icon. Like
she is so young.
Is she really?
Can she even drink?
Wait, you know what else
I think
she was
she's
in?
Like 20.
She was in Insidious 3. She's sort of in the end stinger where there's like the quote, like the new family who is probably going to be haunted. And she's like this tiny little tyke. And I was like, wait a minute, that's Jenna Ortega. And I was like, oh my God, this is crazy.
She's super young.
That's
I
wild.
think she's like 20 or 21 now.
Good for her.
She was born in 2002.
Yeah, so she's 20.
September of 2002.
She will be 20.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
that's wild.
Oh, but she was in the sequel to The Babysitter, Killer Queen.
Oh,
really?
She was in that. Those are fun movies. You got to watch those.
Which is funny because in the first one is Samara Weaving from
Samara Weaving.
Yeah, who's going to be who's in Ready or Not, and then will be in Scream 6.
Yep.
Oh yes.
Look at these little. God, the film world is small and the horror world is smaller.
Man, yeah, she's a little Scream
Look
queen.
Look at her, awesome. Oh God, I'm so excited for Scream 6. They just shot. Did
you see the rap photo?
Yeah, with the subway. Oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
All right, right now, is the subway going to be the opening kill, a random like midway kill, or like Speed, the finale kill?
Ooh,
opening.
I feel like we're going to
opening.
Yeah, agreed. I think we're going to open on the subway.
Because what's more New York than the subway?
Yeah.
Setting the stage.
Open up on the subway. Yes. Okay, good. Great.
All in agreement.
And getting
Scream
it out
6
of like,
opens on the subway.
Like a house with the phone. like
Yeah,
getting
you
it
can't-
out of that.
Well, you have to like Scream 2 was in the movie theater. There's not even a phone.
Oh,
you know?
that's right.
Like,
Yeah.
Duh.
No, but I'm just
Yeah.
saying, like, you forget that though because you associate Scream with because you have like 1, 3, 4, and 5.
Oh, Dan's counting again. We were gonna go Amityville 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
I'm so sorry.
I was just going to say that I think maybe it's time to talk about the scene.
The scene. Like, are we talking?
The scene.
Well-
the scene.
Are we talking Don't Fear the Reaper scene?
Yeah.
Okay.
Her first
First kill.
kill in this movie.
Orphan.
In this movie.
First kill.
You know, she was craving penetration, and
she got it.
Yep, she got it.
She got it.
One way or another.
Dude. When like the knife just comes in like so you don't see it and it
Nope.
just slides right into his neck just like butter.
Well,
Yeah.
how many
Oh
times
my
do you watch a
God.
horror movie and you're like, okay, if I was in this scenario, this is how I would like avoid, like this is how I would get out
Oh,
of
Well,
it.
sure.
But they
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
think she's some old woman with dementia.
Exactly. And it just comes out of left field. It's just, like you said, just like butter. Just in.
And she,
We are but flesh.
we see her getting a little hornier, right? This time she's like actually feeling up on him and trying to kiss him, and he politely tells her no.
Yep.
She's not having that.
Well, there's so many moments in this, like with Brittany Snow does it and he does it where they're like, Pearl is real like close to them and they're like disgusted.
Yeah.
Like they recoil and they're like, ugh. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
it's
she doesn't fit into their traditional like idea of like what is sexual.
well, and
Well,
it's
Brittany
like that
Snow-
whole, it's like the ageism thing.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Where it's like, you get to a certain point, like, where's the point where you're like, okay, it's good to have, we're young and can have sex. And then like, where's the cutoff where it's like, this is quote unquote gross.
Like,
now.
God forbid you're horny.
Well-
You know what
and
I
you're
mean?
not like
Yeah.
attractive to me. Like that's not like
And
the
so
point
like,
of
like Brittany Snow's bit where she's like, before Pearl like is mean to her, she's like putting the wrap around her to like keep her warm. And she like doesn't even want to touch her. She's like, ugh.
Well, she's still really nice to her, but
Well, she is, but it's just that little like that moment, and it's just like it's just
That's a good
fleeting.
point.
She just kind of like recoils real quick, like ugh, and they don't linger on it, but it's just there.
yeah.
But back to the
scene.
the scene.
the scene.
The scene.
Do you think am I overcomplicating? Am I trying to like look too deep? Do you think that was supposed to be sort of, you always hear that correlation between sex and violence in film and like the idea of the knife or the weapon being the kind of phallic symbol. Is she kind of penetrating him? Like,
Oh,
because it could have
absolutely.
just been one stab or two, but she's sort of penetrating him. It's like it's in and out, and like it's literally like he's sort of releasing
man,
these
yeah.
fluids. And
Absolutely.
she looks
Absolutely.
at it later and is like, nice. Like
So this is what I was saying earlier about her. You were talking about her having the guy in the basement and wanting a sex toy and
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah. She orgasms when she kills this man. 100%.
Oh, wow. I
She
didn't
is having
think
an
of that.
orgasm. She's like, face and everything. She dances afterwards
Yeah.
because she wanted to feel young and wanted and beautiful again. And guess what? She fucking got her rocks off, so she feels good. So she's dancing like she's
so
young.
Good.
So
Oh, wow.
this is not just about sex for her. She likes killing people. Like, she's, yeah.
That's her her kink. We are gonna kink shame once. Don't kill people. Don't hurt people.
Yeah, don't kill people. But yeah, sex and violence for her they're together in her mind. So I'm hoping, I don't know what in Pearl, I don't know what Ty West has, if he has any of that, like what happened to her to make her that way. Was she punished for being a bad girl when she was young?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that
Yeah.
sort of thing.
Yeah.
So I'm
Or
hoping
are we
they
just gonna
get-
see kind of like explicitly stating like she likes violence and sex?
Right. Yeah.
It's not
I would
mutually
like to see like the
exclusive.
psychological thing behind it though, and see
Yeah.
if they give us any. of
Oh,
that, but
I am so eager and excited to see Pearl now. just for like
Yeah.
everything that we're talking about right now, all these questions we
Yeah.
have.
And here is man, I got so much information from IMDb. It's just insane.
Wow.
What a
It's
great source.
Hopefully it's accurate.
But here, I'm going to read this word for word because it's pretty interesting. Several of the characters' deaths are foreshadowed in various ways. When Bobby Lynn exits the strip club at the beginning of the film, a large mural depicting a blonde woman with an alligator pulling off her bikini is seen on the building.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, it's called Bayou. The strip club was called Bayou.
Okay.
Something with a gator, yeah.
Oh, my God.
Foreshadowing
Bayou Burlesque.
Bobby Lynn's death by alligator attack. Wayne, in conversation with RJ, tells him that people's eyes are going to pop out of their skulls.
That's right.
When they see the adult film that they made.
Yes.
Wayne later dies by having the prongs of a pitchfork impaled through his eye sockets. Jackson mentioned several times that he was threatened by farmers with guns while serving in Vietnam. He is ultimately killed by Howard with a shotgun.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my
Crazy.
That's good shit.
That is so
That
fun.
is good. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We love this movie.
Mm-hmm. We do.
We do.
What about like were you guys getting Evil Dead vibes in that cabin?
Yes, with the camera going through it.
Oh, I
Absolutely,
didn't even
yeah.
think of that, but yes.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, look at this.
Yeah.
X, you
Good stuff.
son of a bitch. You horny
You son
little
of a bitch.
hoe.
One of the horniest movies. One of the horniest horror movies.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like a hornier movie.
Well, Society, but
Yeah.
we're doing Society for episode 69.
Oh yeah, you heard it here, folks. 69. Nice.
69. Yeah, so speaking of, she goes in there and she rubs up on Maxine, and Maxine just thinks that it's fucking Wayne rubbing up on her and shit, and then she turns around and...
Oh my God. Like, that's like terrifying. To like be
Why?
laying...
Because she's old, Zach?
No.
Is it terrifying because she's old?
You got me. Zing. No, but just like waking up like with somebody else in your bed that like you don't
That's
know.
old?
That's old. That's old. Waking up with anybody over 70 in your bed is terrifying.
Well, yes, and she's also covered in blood from murdering RJ.
Oh, that's
That's true.
scary.
But it's just like, that, you're so vulnerable when you're sleeping that like,
Yeah, and she's naked.
and she's just, Man,
Yep.
crazy.
Yeah, and then that goes into the scene where she pushes Bobby Lynn into the pond and she gets eaten by the gator.
Mm-hmm.
That was fun. Because you're just waiting, like, who's going to get killed by the gator? And you're like, oh, there it is. She's gone.
Well, luckily for me, I'm stupid and I had forgotten about the gator. And so when she pushed her in and I was like, and then it happened so fast, I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
so
will say
good.
that this is one of those movies you really want to watch with. I wish I had seen it the first time in a theater or with like a group of friends. It's still fun on its own, but I want to like shout with people.
Yeah.
You want to shout with people and then have like a very articulate discussion about the subtext.
Well, next comes the real climax of the movie.
Yes.
Yeah. The little hallway shootout showdown.
No.
Oh,
No. When I say climax, I mean
you talking about jizz?
climax.
Oh, you're talking about fucking Howard railing Pearl.
You coming
I'm talking about some
home.
95-year-old saggy baggy.
That was like a true death jam. Like,
See, now,
he went out on
Casey,
that one.
now who's being ageist?
I haven't talked about ageism or anything
You
or
s-
said anything about,
You said
because I do think old people are disgusting. I didn't deny that. You're denying that. I didn't deny that.
Oh my god!
wow. Okay.
No, I don't want a 90-year-old woman naked in front of me. Nope, I don't. You said you're fine with it. I don't.
Well, there's a difference between like personal attraction and like.
Would I have winced as well putting the blanket around? Yes, absolutely. So,
Well, I guess
Oh
we're
my
like we're
God.
As
in
I was
this
saying.
territory of like what is considered like offensive, and then what is considered just like a personal kind of I don't know,
So,
like what arouses you, I guess. Like I like guys, I don't like girls, but I'm not like anti-girl. I don't know.
Well, I don't want to be rude, but like for a long time, like when I was young, like old people legitimately freaked me out.
Mm-hmm.
But that's because all you would ever watch as a child was Poltergeist 2, and you had that creepy villain for that movie.
Dude, Kane.
No, it was because I fucking watched Pet Sematary with that sister that looked like she was just gonna fucking
What was her name?
disintegrate.
Zelda.
I don't remember.
Zelda.
But anyway, no, I'm not actually grossed out by old people anymore. But like I said, when I was younger, I was really freaked out by old people. But yeah, Pearl and Howard, they finally get it on, hoping that he's not gonna fucking die.
Mm-hmm. When he sets his mind on something, when he wants to go for something, he goes for it.
Mm-hmm.
Like he was worried about his heart, and she's like, it'll be fine. And he was like, okay, I trust you. And he just fucking went to town.
Oh yeah.
Like he didn't hold back.
It wasn't
He
like
was
a gentle session of
To town,
thrusting.
meaning her vagina.
to town. Yes, her vagina is town.
Her vagina
with his
town.
peener.
Howard's penis is the city bus.
Yeah. She bought a ticket. She used her Clipper card. Probably didn't get a discount.
Nope.
Got a front row seat.
Yeah. Yeah, and then there's the hallway shootout. And I love that Lorraine is just yelling, because honestly, that was very unexpected, was that she's just screaming that she hates her and that it's all her fault, and then all of a sudden she just gets fucking blasted.
Uh-huh.
When does he die? Is it after he kills Lorraine? That's when he's trying to pick her up,
Yes, because
right?
he's pulling her body inside,
And she
gasps.
yeah.
Which also, that makeup is awesome too, with her fucking cheek blown off, and you can see her teeth and shit. So good.
Yep. She like does like a little spasm or like a gasp or something, and he has a heart attack.
That'll do it.
Yep.
It wasn't the sex that did it. It was the half dead body.
It wasn't the boner. It was her bones.
And then we see the televangelist and Maxine. She's talking, and they both say, "What, I refuse to accept a life that I do not deserve."
Mm-hmm.
But then Pearl, I love the blowback on the gun too.
Yeah.
That was
It's the only time that's ever happened in a movie.
Yeah. Such a great payoff.
Where she flies out the door.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Oh, that was so fun.
Yeah.
So, all right. So, ignoring the prequel, we have X.
That we haven't seen yet.
Yeah, that we haven't seen yet. The first movie is called X. The third movie will obviously be called XXX. The second movie will obviously be called Dos X's. Like the beer.
Will the third one be Triple X, like with Vin Diesel?
The third one already came out years ago.
Yeah.
It's like, this is a weird franchise.
Yeah.
So X was actually a prequel to Triple X.
Mm-hmm. And if you actually watch Triple X, it's the same plot. A lot of people
just
don't
with
realize
like
that.
fast cars and stuff.
Totally.
Yeah. All right, and then fucking Maxine takes off in the truck, and she runs over Pearl's head.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it turns her into soup.
Wait.
Brain soup.
Maxine gets head at the end of the movie.
Ha! She does.
Well, look
Nice.
at that.
That's good. Did you just think of
I
that?
just thought of that. I was even because at first I was like,
Or does Pearl get head?
Oh, they 69.
They both get head.
Aw. Little romantic 69ing. And then
great.
Maxine drives off like the end of a really shitty one night stand. Like, I'm done with this. I'm out.
I like that when she was driving, it was just complete darkness.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was just, everything was just black,
Mm-hmm.
and she was just driving.
Yeah. That's always fun. Like probably in a soundstage or something, just like her. And it's like, that's
easy,
I love
but
when they do that.
effective.
When they don't try to like, manipulate it or anything. It's
Doesn't
just like
fucking matter
black.
where she's going anyway.
Exactly.
It's fun. But speaking of fun, the last scene with the police officers, and they find the video camera. He's like, "What do you think's on it?"
Yep.
Man, that was
You're
fun.
gonna like it.
It's funny because I didn't come out of this movie like, oh, this is my new favorite movie. I enjoyed it, but talking about it has really like made me appreciate it like quite a bit.
Yeah.
Good. It's good to talk about. It's good to talk about things. Get your feelings out there.
Yeah.
People,
Are we
we
your
should
therapists?
talk. You are my therapist. I Venmo you every week. You're very expensive. This is actually like kind of hurting me a little bit financially.
Are you guys ready to talk about our favorite reveals?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, let's do it. It's hard to pick a favorite one. There are so many because there are so many layers to uncovering what is Pearl.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think she's the old lady with dementia, and then she's the one that's a little bit curious about what's under Maxine's dumpy overalls. And then she's a pervert because she's watching them. And then she's a murderer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
But then she's also a murderer who keeps corpses in her basement and does God knows what. You know what I mean?
Well, okay. So question here, just to go back to that for a second. Do you think she's still doing things with the corpse? Or do you think it was like just when he was alive?
I don't know because, that's something. Okay.
Because he looks fresh still, so you could argue.
I don't know.
So,
I'm not saying there's an answer. I'm just, what do you guys think?
So serial killers, there's product killers and there's process killers. Okay. So a product killer is a killer who is going to really enjoy what comes after the killing.
Okay.
Right? It's product. They want the dead body.
Okay.
But process killer is someone who enjoys the entire process of killing somebody.
Gotcha.
Okay.
So, I mean, there can be a combination of the two.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
What about
But
both?
based on her orgasming while she's, cutting that guy's head off, I would assume in that respect, she's a process killer. So I wouldn't think that she would want anything to do with them.
Gotcha.
But there
Maybe
also
she
may
goes
be
both
more.
ways.
Yeah, there may
Yeah.
be more to that.
Yep.
Was showing that guy down there just to show us that she keeps people as sex slaves, or was that
There were,
to
like,
show
the
us that
chains
she,
and
or was that to show us that she keeps fucking around?
yeah.
We don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It's
I don't think that Pearl is going to get as disgusting as this movie is, even though I want it to.
Yeah. You know what would be so fascinating is if they play into the idea that maybe Pearl feels guilty about indulging in this. And that's why, like, in this movie, she's like basically telling her husband, like, fuck me, like, get this out of my system because I don't want to do this bad thing. And because he can't, she kills. That would be so interesting to see, like, what that does to her, like, I don't know. I just feel like they basically created a very interesting, very creepy, disturbing character. And I would love to see, like, where they can go with that.
So let's get back to favorite reveals.
Sorry.
Mine is the butter knife kill.
Yeah.
I'm going to call it the butter knife.
I love that.
I'm sure it was a lot sharper than that.
No, I love that.
But the whole scene is crazy in itself. But like the fact that you don't see she has a knife. She does have her hand like behind her back, so you could kind of like.
Yeah, but you're not thinking.
You're not thinking,
Yeah.
and it just comes in from up. Like you don't see like a big swing with the.
It's not aggressive. It's just
a
like,
big
here's
motion
your
with
arm.
arm.
It's
It's
just going to put this right into
up,
your flesh.
and it's just right in.
Yeah.
And then you're just like, oh shit, okay.
How satisfying.
Because I remember thinking like I was not sure, like going into it, I didn't know she was the killer.
Right. I didn't either.
I didn't know what was going to happen. And then,
Well, you even get the alligator thing. You're like, is this a creature feature?
Yeah.
No, I didn't know it.
Yeah, maybe
You know
they
what I
feed
mean?
the
Like,
maybe she's like Betty White.
Is
this just
in
another Lake Placid?
Yeah.
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 And I kind of thought like, I remember the first time I saw it kind of thinking like, okay, maybe it was Howard, but then like Pearl was just like, she really was just like old and this and,
Yeah,
and
didn't know what was
Howard was
going
like the mastermind behind it all.
Yeah.
But
No, she just horny.
so that's mine.
I would say my favorite reveal was when we realized that there was more to the story, that they did actually keep people down in their basement. So when Lorraine finds the corpse and then, like you said, has
This is not the first time this has happened.
it's like, oh, there's a story. There's more here. There's something. There's a bigger picture here. It's more complicated. And then when Lorraine has that, like you said, like that iconic scream,
Yeah.
that was, I wouldn't say it's more iconic than, or more memorable than when like the butter knife kill. But I would say equally so. So
Yeah, just adds another layer.
Right. Awesome. Well, now it's time for a segment that I like to call The Real Monster.
Run, run, run as fast as you can. You can't catch me. I'm the gingerbread man. You're a monster. I'm not the monster here. You are. You and the rest of that fairy tale trash poisoning my perfect world. Now tell me, where are the others? Eat me!
Real monster. First of all, you guys know one of them for me. Dumpy overalls.
oh yeah,
Dumpy
that's
overalls.
the winner. Yeah.
Second, televangelists.
Okay.
I also have televangelists.
That's it.
That's all I have.
Yes.
Just very, I don't like,
That's good picks.
I think anyone who is so absolute in their thinking, but is also like absolute in their conviction, and then people can buy into that conviction because they're afraid that when they die, they may not reap the benefits. That's fucking terrifying. Because it's so unknown. So anyone who profits off of that is, in my opinion, evil.
Zach, what's your real monster?
I have time. Oh. Time is my real monster.
What is time? But time is but a construct.
Should we all just sing Landslide right now?
Landslide? Oh, yeah, because they sing in the movie. I was going to sing.
They do. Oh my God. We forgot to talk about that whole scene. Do you guys have an answer for this? Or maybe it's just like a fun creative thing, but they split the screen during that whole sequence.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I wonder why. Do you have an answer?
Well, I just thought it was like an aesthetic thing.
Why?
Like,
why did you decide to do that?
Yeah, I think it was a aesthetic choice. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean,
did they do that in old horror movies?
Maybe.
That I can't think of specifically.
Do they do it in old pornos?
See that?
Oh, fuck yeah, they do. Oh, yeah, because they're showing a boobie while they're showing
I want to see a hoo-ha,
dick and a
boobie,
vagina.
and I want to see a wee-wee and a butt.
Her face. I want to see the O face. I want to see it going in her. I want to see an
O face. I want to see an O ring. I want to see it all.
Yep.
So there's your
Danny,
answer.
I think the answer is old pornos.
Porn.
Yep.
Porn's always the answer.
Isn't it?
Well, do you guys have anything else to add about X?
It marks the spot.
Sure does.
It does. The G spot.
X marks the G spot.
Okay. Well, that is it for this episode of How I Met Your Monster. Make sure to go see Pearl in theaters September 16th. And also make sure to subscribe to How I Met Your Monster on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, anywhere you listen to podcasts if you haven't already, so that you can continue to receive wonderful drops of horror love every other Monday.
That's what I call it.
Drops of horror
drop
love.
of horror love.
Semen.
Yeah.
Semen.
A little blast to the face.
Semen.
Goes with
Some
this
horror
movie.
love.
And make sure to follow us on social media. You can find us on Twitter at I Met Your Monster and on Facebook and Instagram at How I Met Your Monster. Where can our listeners find you two on social media? I'm
on Instagram at WolfMotherCasey.
And I'm on Instagram and Twitter at just my name, Danny Salem. DANNYSALEMME. 2 M's like the candy. Melt in your butt, not in your hands.
Wonderful.
Keep it classy.
And if you enjoyed the show, we would love if you would leave a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, any of those podcast platforms.
To be honest, just to tie into this movie, like when you give us a good review, we get really horny. So if you want to help us
so
be horny
when I read good reviews,
then give us a review.
That's right. And make sure to join us next episode where we will start out spooky season with Urban Legend.
Urban Legends? Oh.
Yes. Oh my God. I cannot wait.
But for now, that is it. As always, thank you all for listening. Now go meet some monsters.
Stay horny.
Go fuck.
Go fuck. Go fuck some monsters.
Yeah, go fuck.
We don't
Why
kink
not?
shame.
Go fuck a monster.
No, you want to fuck monsters?
Y'all want a monster fuck?